Hello guys and welcome back. In this video, I will show you how I made this interior living space, and go through the basic steps so everyone can follow along. I will also mention a number of tips throughout this tutorial which can make your process much smoother, so keep watching and let us start. Starting with this adorable cube, we will do most of the modeling inside, so select it gently, and in edit mode, move it up while holding the control key. This way we level it with the floor grid. Now press N to open the side panel and change the dimensions of the cube to the size you need. For me, I need it to be big, so I will go with 8 by 6 meters and give it a height of 2.7. It's also preferred to enable the back face culling. This will make us see the interior of the room from outside, and to get that, we need to flip the normals. So to have a basic understanding of what we need to make here, let me take the pin so that we sketch something over this, and hopefully you get the idea. It's very simple. The main thing we need to work on is this wall, the one in front of the camera as you saw in my render. I will also have this corner open as a corridor to another area, just to give the scene more dynamic flow, and that's for me is much better than picturing a close room. So maybe add a path like this one, or some stairs to a different level. You don't need to show what behind it, just the feeling of another space beside the one we are making. In the front wall we will have 3 main shapes. 2 of them are shelves on both sides of the wall showing in the final render, and between them we will add a smooth depth in the wall, and that's the basic lines in this design. I will also have my main light source from the left wall, but you can do as you like. For me, I prefer not to have my camera and sun rays coming on the same direction, so in this top view, my camera will be on the green y-axis, and that's why my sun rays will be either from the left or the right wall. I just like it when the sun cast over the furniture through the room. So now that you understand what we're aiming for, we will start adding cuts and extrude some faces to shape the basic line of this room. You can enable the snap tool and put it on vertices. This way once we add a new cut, we can snap it to any area, then calculate the distance from there. Now for the corridor area, I need it to be 1.6 meters, and another 1.6 in the depth. This third extrude distance is not important since it's outside the camera frame. In the same way we will assign the faces for the shelves and the middle part between them. The shelves will be 1 meter each, and the area between them will be 3 meters. Again, all this are up to you since we don't have blueprints here. I added those 2 cuts and I will bevel them just to separate the shelves from the corner edge, so that we can bevel it later without any problems. We can now select the middle face and extrude it to outside by 0.6 meter. Then with the 2 corner edges, select them and hit Ctrl B to smooth the area. The remaining face will be separated into 3 parts. This way we can make the middle part pops to the front a bit and have a hidden light behind it. So once I selected this face, I will extrude it to inside 2 times by a small amount. Those 2 side faces need some extrusion to hide the light behind them once we add it, so just select them and hit extrude along normal. With the right mouse button we can shade smooth the mesh for the corner, and fix the shade with the auto smooth from the normals tab. Now to make the shelves, I will select those two faces and separate them from the main mesh. Then we can use the basic inset and extrude commands to shape them into shelves. Once we done with the shelves modeling, we can jump to the modifiers and smooth the mesh corners with the bevel modifier. We can also select the main edges in the room and smooth them with the bevel command. Now before we continue working on this room, we need to place our camera frame to know where to work and where not. For the camera settings, I usually go with 28 as the camera focal length, and to show more from the room, we can move the camera outside the room and use the clipping value to cut through the back wall. Now for the ceiling, we should separate it from the start. However, things happened and now we can't add cuts to it, so I will use the knife to slice it into quad, then remove the faces in the middle to add new ones. The ceiling we have here is very simple with small extrusion to place some lights in it. Now that we made this new face, I will inset it by a small amount, and extrude the inset area, and remember to apply scale on objects before operating on them with tools or with modifiers. Let us also make a wall trim for the bottom part by selecting the edges around the room, convert them to curve, give them some extrusion, and switch them back to mesh. Now we can add to it a solidify modifier to give it some thickness, and move it up on the floor level. For the lighting part, we will start with the natural light, and for that, I need to cut a hole in the left wall to work as a window. I won't be adding one since it's outside the camera frame, so we just need an empty area for the light to come through. The left wall is the same as the ceiling, and though we can delete it and add a new plane, I will work it around in edit mode since, as we said, it won't appear in render. I will use Cycle's render engine and make the viewport samples on 20 to keep the render testing short. In the world light settings, we will use a sky texture to work as a world light, then from Shift A, add a sun in the scene. I also have the sun position add-on enabled, and we can find its tab in the world light panel, so if you don't have it, go to the add-on settings in the preferences and enable it. It's built in Blender, so you don't need to download anything. In the sun position tab, we will assign both the sky and the sun lamp to match their lights. Then we can work around the attitude and latitude values until we get a good sunlight inside our room. As I said, I like my sunlight casting over the furniture, so I will make it go deep inside the room. Once we done with the sun parameters, we can go up to the sky settings and make the light edges smooth by increasing the sun size, and also dropping down the intensity so that it won't burn any textures. And though the window won't show up in the render, still you can add some cuts on it since it will affect the sunlight. I will also add another window at the end of the corridor, and that area will provide some sky blue color inside the room. And that's it for the natural light. We did make a full tutorial on interior lighting, so check it out for more infos. For the artificial lights, we will have three types. All of them are easy to use, so with the first type, we will use a light material, an emission shader. Those ones will be on the ceiling and inside the shelves. This type of artificial lighting don't affect the amount of light inside the room, and we use it usually to better present the area they appear in, so you can consider it as a softy light that only lit itself. Now with this shape, I will add a cut on it and give the bottom area a light material. So in the material settings, we need to add the first slot for the entire shape, then we add another material slot and assign it to the selected faces to make them appear as a light. Once you changed the surface from principal BSDF to emission, we can use a black body to assign its color with temperature, and give it some power to make it shine. Once we done with this shape, we can select the other ones, then the light we made, and hit Ctrl L to link the object data. Now for the second type of artificial lights, the spotlights, which is the main interior lighting used to lit up any night scene, and to add it, we need first a spot object to place it around the ceiling in specific areas, so I will use the append process to import a spot mesh to the scene. Now that we finished copying the spot object we imported, we can select one of them, and place on it a point light. We will use this light to make it as an IES light and cast realistic spotlights on the walls. In the point light settings, hit the Use Nodes button, then in the Strength input, look for the IES texture, switch it to External Source and assign in it the IES file. In the light color, we can add a black body to control it via temperature. IES lights have a unique shape and power, so we need the radius here to be on 0, and though it's best to put the power on 0, we can't, since the light will turn off, so just give it a low value under 1. Now once we're done with this light, we can instance copy it around. With instance copy, if you changed the values in any of those lights we copied, it changed in all of them, and that's what separated from the normal Shift-D copy. The third type of artificial lights is the hidden one. We usually use it in ceilings behind the curtains, on with the sweeps around the room. This type can give you the calm settle night lights in the space, usually with warm colors, and the best choice here to make that is using an area light. Scale it around to fit the area you need to make it shine, and as before, we can use the black body to assign the color easily. Now, as we said before, we need to place some lights inside the shelves using emission materials, so I will add a cylinder here, and you can go around modeling it in any shape. Just one thing to keep in mind, before working on anything, make sure it appear in render, as in this shape. If we spend some time modeling it, and we took a step back on the camera view, it won't have much appearance once we make it as a light, so I will leave it as a simple tube, and give it the same emission material with maybe warmer color than the ceiling. I added a cube on the ceiling to make it as a vent, and I will use the Boolean modifier to cut its area from the ceiling. You can also add other things like fire alarm or anything else. For us as a tutorial, we will keep it simple. Now for the materials part, we won't be working you out since it's been like 30 minutes in this tutorial. Instead, we will use the free BlenderKit library to import materials into our scene, so if you have it, open it. If not, visit the main site, link to it in the description, and download the add-on to follow with us. So with the kit library enabled, we can search for any material and just drop it on the scene directly and with no time. For the floor material, I think marble would look nice on big rooms like this one, so just type in marble in the search bar, And this one called artificial marble would look nice on it, so I will select the bottom faces and assign them to a new slot in the material settings, then we can click and drop the marble on it. The marble pattern is way too small, so I will select the floor and hit U to Smart UV unwrap it. Then with the UV edit window we can scale it around till it seems fit. In the same way I will add another marble material to the middle area in the front wall, and there are many good ones. Still I find those two to be great, just like a painting, and it's quite good, so try any one you like in this list. Now as before, to add a material to any face or area, we need to select it and assign it to a new material slot, then we can drop on it the material we like, easy as it gets. For the remaining faces, we will do the same process. Select the area and assign it to a new slot, then drop the material on it, and fix the UV if necessary. on this area. Once we cut it, I will take the right half and separate it, then I will add couple of cuts on it and work it around with bevel and extrude commands to make it look like wood bars. Once we are done fixing the scene materials, let us make a new collection to add the models in it. And I have this small set that contain couple of models which we will use in the scene, so whether it's by appending the scene or via copy and paste process, we need to import those models into our scene and place them around the room. Now that we imported all the models into the scene, and I also changed couple of materials on it, though you will have them fixed in the file down in the description, and if you want to get more of those models, visit the channel. We shared quite number of high quality assets every once in a while. For the render settings, I will have it render on 400 samples or maybe less. Just don't exaggerate with the samples count. For interior scenes like this one, 800 is max, 200 if you're using Nintendo device. Less than that and you will get noise. The denoising is on by default, so keep it that way. I make it on optics since I have Nvidia card, still the default works fine. For the max bounces, make the transparent on 12. You can also make the diffuse on 8. I do that if I have just wall paint on my walls. However, with the variety of materials we used here, I will keep it on 4. And finally, make the resolution on 200%, and that's it. You can go and hit the render button, and be happy with your life. See you guys next time. Stay sharp. Goodbye.